Before you sleep tonight, ask yourself one question. What if the calmest voice you hear is hiding the darkest truth? Like, comment, and subscribe, because this story only gets worse. At 2:17 a.m., the call came in. 911, what's your emergency? A man's voice answered, steady, almost too steady. Yes. I think my wife fell down the stairs. She's not breathing. No panic. No shouting. No chaos. Just calm. Dispatcher Elena Ruiz had taken hundreds of calls in her 10 years on the job. She had heard screams, sobbing, even silence so heavy it felt like death itself. But this was different. Something about the way he spoke made her sit up straighter. Sir, what's your name? Daniel Hayes. And your wife's name? Lena. Lena Hayes. There was a pause, just a second too long. Elena's fingers hovered over her keyboard. Okay, Daniel, I need you to check if she's breathing. Put your hand near her mouth. I already did, he replied quickly. She's not. Is she conscious? No. Still calm. Still controlled. Elena felt a quiet tension creep into her chest. Behind her, other operators moved through their own emergencies, voices rising and falling in waves of urgency. But this call, it felt like a performance. Daniel, I need you to stay on the line with me. Help is on the way. Can you tell me exactly what happened? Another pause. She slipped, he said. The stairs were wet, I think. Wet? Elena glanced at the time again. 2:18 a.m. Why were the stairs wet? Silence. Then, I don't know. Maybe she spilled something earlier. His voice didn't break. It didn't shake. It didn't sound like a man who had just found his wife dying at the bottom of the stairs. Daniel, I need you to start CPR, Elena instructed, her tone firm. I don't think it will help. You need to try. Another pause. Then faint movement, like he had finally knelt down beside her. But something felt off. Tell me what you're doing, Elena said. I'm pressing on her chest. How many compressions have you done? I don't know. Elena's heart tightened. Sirens echoed faintly in the background now, units were close. She leaned forward, lowering her voice slightly. Daniel, stay with me. Keep counting. 1, 2, 3. But he interrupted her. They're here. Relief should have followed. But instead, a chill ran down her spine. Because in the background, she didn't hear chaos. No rushing footsteps. No urgent shouting from paramedics. Just silence. The line stayed open as muffled voices replaced his. Then, suddenly, a paramedic's voice, sharp and alarmed. Dispatch, this is Unit 12. This is not an accidental fall. Elena froze. What do you mean? She whispered, even though they couldn't hear her. The paramedic continued, voice tense. There's too much blood. And there are injuries inconsistent with a fall. Elena's screen flickered with the active call, Daniel's line still connected. And then she heard it. A faint sound in the background. Not from the paramedics. From Daniel. A whisper, so quiet it almost disappeared into the static. I told you, it would look like an accident. Elena's blood ran cold. Because that whisper wasn't meant for her. And it wasn't meant for the paramedics. It was meant for someone else. But when officers searched the house minutes later, there was no one else there. By the time detectives arrived, the house had already been sealed off. Yellow tape stretched across the quiet suburban entrance, flickering under the red and blue pulse of police lights. Inside, the air felt heavy, like something had been disturbed and hadn't settled back into place. Lena Hayes lay at the base of the staircase, her body already covered. But it wasn't the fall that caught Detective Marcus Cole's attention. It was the walls. Thin streaks of blood had traveled higher than they should have, far too high for a simple fall. Some drops angled sideways, as if they'd been cast outward, not downward. He stepped closer, eyes narrowing. This wasn't gravity, he muttered. Beside him, Detective Sarah Lynn nodded. Looks like impact. Upstairs, officers moved carefully through the bedrooms. Everything looked normal. Too normal. No signs of forced entry. No overturned furniture. No struggle that matched the scene below. And then there was Daniel Hayes. He sat in the living room, wrapped in a blanket, answering questions with that same eerie calm. "I told you," he repeated, his voice low, steady. She slipped. Marcus studied him. No tears. No shaking hands. No desperation to explain. Just control. "Your dispatcher said you hesitated when she asked about the wet stairs," Sarah pressed. Daniel blinked slowly. "I was in shock." "Most people don't sound like that in shock," Marcus said. For the first time, Daniel's eyes flickered, just slightly. Upstairs, a young officer called out, "Detectives, you need to see this." They followed him into the master bedroom. At first glance, it looked untouched. But the officer pointed toward the nightstand. A phone. Sarah picked it up, the screen still lit. "It's hers." Marcus leaned in. "Time of last activity." 2:11 a.m., she said. 6 minutes before the 911 call. She unlocked it with a gloved hand and opened the messages. There was only one recent thread. Unknown number. Sarah read it aloud, her voice tightening with each word. "He's acting strange tonight." A pause. Then the next message. "I think he knows I found something." Marcus felt a chill crawl up his spine. "What did she find?" he murmured. Sarah scrolled further. The final message was unfinished. "I'm scared. If anything happens." It cut off. No punctuation. No ending. Just silence. The room seemed to shrink around them. Back downstairs, Daniel shifted slightly as the detectives returned. His eyes followed them, calm, watchful. Too watchful. "Daniel," Marcus said, holding up the phone. "Why was your wife afraid of you tonight?" Daniel's expression didn't change. "I don't know what you're talking about." Sarah stepped closer. "She sent messages saying she was scared. That you knew she found something." "What did she find?" For the first time, Daniel hesitated. Just a fraction. But it was enough. "I think you're reading into things," he said quietly. Marcus crouched slightly, bringing himself level with Daniel's eyes. "Then help us understand." Silence stretched between them. Then Daniel spoke. "She was emotional sometimes." Sarah's jaw tightened. "That's not an answer." But Daniel didn't respond. Instead, he looked past them, toward the staircase. Like he was remembering something. Or someone. Marcus followed his gaze. The stairs stood still. Quiet. Empty. But something about them felt wrong now. Not just the blood. Not just the fall. Something else. Something unseen. Back upstairs, another officer rushed into the room, breath slightly unsteady. "Detectives, we found something in the study." Marcus and Sarah exchanged a glance before heading down the hall. The study door creaked open. Inside, the air felt colder. The desk was cluttered, papers, folders, a laptop still open. Sarah stepped forward and tapped the keyboard. The screen lit up. A series of documents appeared. Financial records. Hidden accounts. Transfers. Large ones. Marcus leaned in. "This isn't just money, this is a lot of money." Sarah scrolled further. Then stopped. Her face hardened. "What is it?" Marcus asked. She turned the screen toward him. A document labeled, "Life Insurance Policy, Lena Hayes. Coverage amount, $2 million. Marcus exhaled slowly. "Motive," he said. But Sarah wasn't looking at the amount. She was looking at the date. Updated. Just 2 days ago. Before Marcus could respond, a voice came from the doorway. An officer. Pale. "Detectives, we have a problem." "What is it?" Marcus asked. The officer swallowed. The neighbor's security camera, it caught something. Marcus felt that same cold tension return. "What did it catch?" The officer hesitated. Then said quietly, "Your suspect wasn't the only one in the house tonight."
The footage played in silence. Detective Marcus Cole stood with his arms crossed, eyes fixed on the small monitor in the evidence room. Beside him, Sarah Lynn leaned forward slightly, her expression tight, controlled. The grainy black and white video showed the front of the Hayes house. Timestamp: 1:52 a.m. At first, nothing moved. Then, a figure. Not Daniel. Someone else. A person in a hooded jacket stepped into frame from the side of the house, moving quickly but carefully. They paused near the window, as if checking inside. Sarah whispered, "That's 15 minutes before the 911 call." Marcus nodded slowly. The figure didn't break in. They didn't force anything. Instead, they walked to the front door and knocked. Once, twice. Then the door opened. From the inside, Marcus felt his pulse slow. Daniel let them in. The figure stepped inside, and the door closed behind them. The footage continued. Nothing. Until 2:09 a.m. The door opened again. The same figure stepped out. But this time, they weren't alone. Marcus leaned closer. The second figure appeared behind them. Daniel. Standing still in the doorway. Watching. Not chasing. Not stopping them. Just watching. Then the door shut. The timestamp ticked forward. 2:17 a.m. The 911 call. Sarah exhaled slowly. So he wasn't alone, but he also didn't try to stop them. Marcus turned away from the screen, his mind racing. Which means either he was threatened, or he knew exactly why they were there. Back in the interrogation room, Daniel sat exactly as before. Calm. Composed. Untouched by the chaos building around him. Marcus placed the still image from the footage on the table. "Who is this?" Daniel glanced at it briefly. "I don't know." Sarah leaned in. "They came to your house. You opened the door. Don't lie." Daniel's eyes flickered again. That tiny crack. But this time, it didn't close. Marcus slid the phone across the table. "Your wife was scared. She said you knew she found something. Then someone shows up at your door in the middle of the night. And now she's dead." Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. Then Daniel spoke. "You're missing the point." Sarah's voice sharpened. "Then explain it." Daniel leaned back slightly, his calm returning, but different now. Colder. She wasn't supposed to die. The room froze. Marcus stepped forward. Then what was supposed to happen? Daniel looked at the table for a long moment. Then back at them. She found the accounts. The money. Everything I'd been hiding. She said she was going to expose me. Sarah's voice dropped. "So you called someone?" Daniel didn't answer. But he didn't deny it. "They were supposed to scare her," he continued quietly. "That's all." Marcus felt anger rise in his chest. "You let someone into your house to scare your wife." "She wouldn't listen," Daniel snapped suddenly, the calm cracking for the first time. "She was going to destroy everything." The silence that followed was louder than anything he'd said. Sarah spoke carefully. "What went wrong?" Daniel's eyes drifted, not to them, but past them, like he was replaying it. "They argued," he said softly. "Loud." She fought back. Marcus clenched his jaw. "And?" Daniel swallowed. "Things got out of control." Sarah's voice was barely above a whisper. "Out of control how?" Daniel hesitated, then said it. "They pushed her." The words hung in the air. Marcus stared at him. "Pushed her down the stairs." Daniel nodded slowly. She hit her head, and didn't move. Sarah closed her eyes briefly. "But that's not what you told 911, Marcus said. Daniel looked at him. And for the first time, there was something else in his expression. Not guilt. Not fear. Something worse. "They told me what to say," he said. Marcus frowned. "Who did?" Daniel's lips curled slightly. A faint, unsettling smile. "The people you still haven't found." The room went still. Sarah felt a chill run through her. "Names," she demanded. But Daniel just shook his head. "They're already gone." Weeks later, the case dominated headlines. Daniel Hayes was charged. The evidence was overwhelming. The call. The footage. The confession. But one question never went away. The second figure. They were never identified. No fingerprints. No records. No trace. Just a shadow caught on camera, walking into a house and leaving behind a crime that would never fully be solved. And Elena Ruiz, the dispatcher who first took the call, never forgot that whisper. "I told you, it would look like an accident." Because now, she understood. He wasn't talking to himself. And he wasn't talking to her. He was talking to someone who was still out there. Watching. Waiting. And 3 months later, another call came in. Different house. Different voice. Same calm tone. And the same chilling words. "I think it was just an accident."